to your midweek daily rundown with me, Dan Morfitt. This is the show on Channel 7 where we look at some of the day's big talking points and some little bits you may have missed too. Things on debate from this daily rundown include unemployment's joy, student meningitis and the self-driving car. But first, it's time to introduce my wonderful guests who will help us make sense of it all, more so than me. Presenter of That's Pride and professional cynic, it's the wonderful Ashleigh Talbot.
Hi.
I haven't seen you since Blue Dot Festival.
Yeah, we're both very sunburnt and watching lots of electronic music. It was awesome.
I think we got lost around the Jodrell Bank Observatory.
Lots of space things.
Yes.
There to just sort of wander around and go.
Did you have the cocktails?
Yes.
Amazing.
I had all the cocktails.
All the cocktails were good. We've got no cocktails tonight, even though I sound as if I've drunk a couple. Also joining us on the Blue Banquette is exhibitions editor at The Creative Tourist and journalist. It's Polly Checkland.
Hi.
Welcome to the Blue Banquette. I've never done a show with you before, so
yeah, first time.
I'm normally all right at this, but tonight I'm a little bit weird. I don't know why.
It's not just tonight, darling.
No, I thank you. Tarlov. Now, if you want to get involved with the show and have your say on anything we chat about, just tweet us at The Daily Rundown. Go on, you will not regret it. You can get things off your chest, and while you're there, follow us, because otherwise you just wasted your time. Right, time now to look at our first news story. Young people starting university or college this autumn are being urged to get vaccine against meningitis. Public Health England says that the jab will protect against meningitis W in particular, which is a sometimes deadly strain that is on the rise. Officials say new students are at risk as they often mix closely with groups of unfamiliar people, some who may unknowingly carry the bug. Wales has also renewed calls for school leavers to take up the jab. The injection, known as the MenACWY vaccine, which treats all the different strains of meningitis, was first introduced for new university students in the UK last year. So, should young people be worried about this new strain of meningitis?
Not if they get vaccinated. Because that's the whole point of vaccination, essentially. And so the public health campaign is like, hey, do this thing. It won't take long, and it will protect you from this quite serious and potentially really debilitating, if not deadly, disease. And it won't, it doesn't really take very much to do.
Is there any reason not to get the vaccine that we know of?
That's a very good thing to say. There is no reason not to get it. It protects you either way. I've been hospitalised twice with meningitis in my youth.
Really?
And the first time I was in, the person in the next bed to me died. And so that shakes you up. The second time you go in, you get very, very worried. It was just a very particularly bad bout of shingles, but shingles can be a precursor to some strains of meningitis as well. So
how did you know you had it? Did you have the usual sort of symptoms?
Massive headaches, a rash, unbelievable pain.
What's scary about it though is, I think, is that the rash doesn't always appear or kind of appear last, so you can be kind of quite far into having it and then the rash appears, and that's when you know you're in it. Because I think it's fairly common knowledge now that the rash is like a really sign, and that you're supposed to do the kind of glass test and things like that. But it is frightening. I remember going to university and having these warnings, and there was a big thing about, and what I was kind of thinking about in relation to this was looking after one another and kind of checking in on people and making sure that they are, responding and that they're well, and if they're not well, that they don't get significantly worse quickly. And it feels like maybe that's the second part to this. It's not just get the jab, it's also what can the universities do to make sure people know A, what to look for, and B, how to look after each other.
It has to be one of those things for public health at colleges and universities. You see the safe sex chats, you see the be careful and be seen with your friends, but this is something that needs to be seen quite visibly at colleges and universities in the next term, because another thing about the particular strain of meningitis W, is it often appears like a hangover. It can appear that you're a bit sluggish, that you just feel a little bit under the weather, and that it actually can blow up to something worse. Students just starting their new freedom, shall we say, this August, September and October, don't put it off as just a hangover, don't put it off as just a heavy night on the sauce. It could be something much worse.
I wonder about, because I think at the moment there is a bit of an issue with the fact that we're all being made extremely aware through the media of kind of the way in which the NHS is overtaxed, and this idea of don't go to your doctor unless you have to, and definitely don't go to the A&E unless you have to, and there are these other routes. And I think that that's quite difficult when coming up against what is a very dangerous disease that has symptoms that are quite normal seeming until you get the rash. So I wonder about early ways of telling what's happening, or advice around, actually in this case, if you think it might be meningitis, if you're even a little bit scared, just go and ask for help. Just make sure it's not.
It's one of those things though that's not going to be given to everybody just on spec. It's something that students need to source and find out for themselves. Do you think, not to politicise the argument, but now universities and colleges have to serve students not as just students but as customers. It would make sense for them to put the money down and protect their own students and their own population when, you know, the first few days at college or university you're quite afraid of what's ahead.
Of what could be that. Well, you're absolutely right, that is perhaps something that should happen, frankly, because you are right if they're switching from the view of students as, you know, little academics to be filled with knowledge, to treating them as customers. Then essentially the university is paying for, the university is being paid to ensure that this person is educated, and they can't be educated if they're extremely sick with meningitis.
But in any case, I think there's a thing about the kind of messaging that you get when you're joining university. Usually there's stuff around fire, and there's stuff around STIs, and there's stuff around, and it's kind of bringing this into that wouldn't be sort of difficult or terribly costly. So
lots of universities do publish their own kind of health and safety information specific to the campus, you know, as the situation demands. And so it wouldn't be too much of a stretch for the you know, the campus health, because there's usually a health centre or a walk-in centre on or attached to a lot of universities, for them to really push this in terms of, you know, new students having arrived in the coming months. So
That and it would get new students in with their new local medical centre, and it would create a dialogue and a relationship there, which some just ignore over the course of college or university. They just don't think about the doctors that are there on hand to help them through their period of time there.
I guess the challenge as well is that early period at university when you don't really know anyone, and depending on how socially able or / confident you feel, the ability to kind of make connections with people to the extent where if you were to feel ill, you'd feel able to say, actually guys, I'm, you know, so I think
someone to look in on you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's quite that's a sort of challenge that I'd imagine the universities are kind of face in terms of how to make sure that people are making connections in a way that actually keeps them safe.
It is just nice, like you said earlier, if other students have got your back on this.
Well, it's the same as, you know, when you're going out drinking and you're coming back and kind of working out, you know, not letting someone walk home on their own and things like that. I mean, I think my group of friends quite quickly developed systems around that, because it just didn't seem right, you know.
I've got to sort of stay impartial, but on this, I'm just saying it's a no-brainer to get this vaccine done, because we've seen only in the last few weeks, and with the festival season still upon us right now, the rise in measles because of anti-vaxxers and some parents not getting their kids the measles, mumps and rubella vaccine is staggering. Measles is a disease which almost died out completely, was completely dead, but now it's risen again, and it's an absolutely debilitating disease that can create further problems down the line for if you want to like have children in the future. It just seems a no-brainer for this meningitis jab just to have it. It's part of the toolkit of going to college or university. Surely it just makes sense to just go, yeah, I need books, I need my laptop, I need pot noodles, and I need this meningitis.
It's like when you go travelling.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point I was making.
Oh, sorry.
No. I was just gonna say, it's exactly what you do. You prepare for that. You know, you're going on this thing that you're going to enjoy. You're going to get a lot out of it, and you want to be prepared for it. And if you're travelling to certain places, obviously you're advised to get jabs, and there's no reason why that wouldn't apply to, you know, a far more significant period of your life, I suppose.
And if you're going from, say, Oldham away for the first time in your life to like Sunderland University, you need all the jabs you can get. You might need more than meningitis.
I mean, perhaps, I'm not sure if there's a jab that protects against sort of thrown rocks. I don't know.
I'm only joking. People that come from Sunderland. Sunderland's a wonderful place, but you do need your inoculations before you go there.
I did a brewing course in Sunderland. It was.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's quite interesting.
Yes. Well, so was the course, obviously. I mean, so making beer and crafting and brewing and all that sort of thing.
That's dead interesting.
Indeed, it was a long time ago, but but that was in Sunderland, and it's quite nice, although obviously don't say to someone from Sunderland, are you from Newcastle? They get, there's an issue there.
I'm a Mac, I'm not a Geordie.
I mean, I wasn't going to attempt the accent, but, you're brave.
Yeah.
Well, normally my go-to town is Carlisle, but if I say anything about Carlisle tonight, Adam in the gallery will have a go at me. And the amount of inoculations that you get if you go to Carlisle are the same ones you get from a vet.
Good, excellent. So
I felt like, the Daily Rundown's Twitter, if this doesn't provoke some response on there, I really don't know what will.
It's a bit of a weird news story in that it's a really, really important news story, but it is a no-brainer.
Yeah, exactly.
It just has to be done. And, if you care for your loved one going to college or university, I would just get them the jab.
Yeah. Or even if they're not going to college or university, but they're of a certain age and they're mixing with other young people. There's people who are going into apprenticeships and work and
It's a
other
very good
forms
point.
of education, and actually I think they need to be made as aware. It's not a privilege that you get whilst going to university.
And nobody's immune from it unless they get the jab.
Yes.
We had to think about that for a second. Went, oh yeah, that's what immunity is.
That is what it is,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yes.
Right, that's the end of part 1 of the Daily Rundown. Still to come, unemployment, UKIP and unbelievable self-driving cars. So get the kettle on and the three of us will be back in just a few minutes' time here on Channel 7 with the Daily Rundown. Do not go away.